coming to these sort of meetings, or having any kind of interest in something beyond the dream or life or whatever this world of polarity is a bit like when you're sitting in a cinema. Imagine you're sitting in a cinema, you're in the middle of a James Bond film or whatever you love. And there's this wonderful enthralling, and you're totally in the scene. But you know somewhere that you're looking at a screen, and there's a room full of people looking at a screen, and there are moving images on the screen. But you're enjoying it so much that you want to be lost in the illusion. And I suggest that that is our common state, that we love being lost in the illusion of life, with all its dramas, its ups and downs, its suffering, its joys, its love, but it's a world of opposites. Now, imagine if somebody comes in and taps you on the shoulder, and you're in the middle of this wonderful scene and you're totally enthralled, and they say, excuse me, it's not real, that what you're looking at. You turn around, you wouldn't be too happy about that, would you? And so trying to tell somebody about a state of seeing everything where nothing is wrong is a bit like tapping somebody on the shoulder and saying, excuse me, but you don't have to be looking at that if you don't choose to. It's not actually something that's compulsory. It's not something you have to be completely lost in, because you can actually turn around, walk out, let's go outside into sunshine, something else might happen. But to actually say that to somebody is a bit like what we're trying to do in suggesting that there is an alternative way of seeing things. So what I'm saying is that from one point of view, from the point of view of being lost or being completely caught up in duality, there's plenty of problems. There's always going to be plenty of problems. There's going to be complications. There's going to be an enormous amount of desires for things that other people have that you don't have, because any desire is for something that you want. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we're meant to be lost. We love being lost. But there is a point in our evolution, the evolution of the whatever consciousness is, where there arises a desire, and it is a desire for more than this incredible world of duality. And the mere hint that there might be some other way of seeing is so enthralling. It becomes the only desire, the desire to be free of fear of death, free of the attachment to things that cause us suffering, free of habits, free of all that stuff that is the trigger for suffering in this world. To be able to see from the eagle's eye or whatever is what we're talking about here. So it's great to be lost in the dream, but it's also possible and wonderful that we can stand up, turn away from the screen, and see what happens, because that screen is specific to that movie. And all I'm saying here is that there is another way of seeing, where you have the freedom to just be with what is.
That was perfect, Terry. And as you were talking, I got this visual of, and sometimes I see in cartoons, and so if anyone can do that, they might be with me on this, of, you know, the body's here and there's all these bubbles popping up, and they're all these bubbles are different desires. Because as we come in, particularly when we're young, there's that desire to find, you know, the perfect mate, and the desire for money, and the desire to travel, and all these different desires that pop up at different times in our life. And then as we move through life, often, you know, like imagine a little pin, popping them, pop, 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 pop. And it can only happen when it happens, but we come to a point where the desires are less than the desire to be awake. And that's what Terry was talking about. That the desire to live as awakeness, to live awake, to step out of the duality into this field of non-duality, where all is one, where there is santosha, which I've talked about, that experience of santosha, complete contentment. And when that desire is strong enough, all the other desires instantly just pop of their own accord. It's like, you know, when you're blowing bubbles and they reach a point where they just pop. So any desires that were still hanging around will ultimately just pop of their own accord. And there is that one driving motivation which pulls us on and reminds us constantly of awakeness. And we initially, you know, we will slip in and out of living as awakeness. We'll fall back into an old pattern until we see that pattern, and that pattern's seen through, and then we'll move back into awakeness. And that will happen with oscillation for some time until there is a greater steadiness living as awakeness. But that desire has to be so strong because, as Terry said, you know, the life movie, the drama that we're here to enjoy in duality is a really powerful drama, and it will pull us back into that drama over and over again in all sorts of different ways. Even when that desire for awakeness is there and we've had a glimpse, we've had an experience where all separation melts away and everything becomes one. But that can only happen when it happens. We can't make that happen. We can have glimpses of it at different times in our life until it just becomes something that is just there for us. And it becomes the most important thing. Watching that whole play, that whole drama, and seeing what is the most powerful force there. Presence, the sense of being, the sense of aliveness, can have all of that as long as the attachment doesn't pull us back into the drama. Okay, everyone, if you want to stay on the list, then I'll send you all a link for next Sunday. It's every Sunday we do this. Namaste.
Namaste.